just want to give some, see here if I can get this up here. So you have, the title is From AR to AI, and AR here is representing not only augmented reality, but also virtual reality and mixed reality and extended reality. It's a set of tools where we are trying to utilize different combinations. And AI, of course, is a lot of different type of tools as well. But how can we combine these? And here we can see, just said here, Melbourne University, SUSTech, Chongqing University, and Insight. So just one application where we have been working quite a lot is on looking for travels, and how can we reduce the number of travels by using these type of tools. And here is just a picture showing how has the global number of air travels developed from 1970 to 2018. And we can see that there was an oil crisis in 1973, and we got a little downturn, and there have been some other downturns, but a big downturn was after 11th of September 2001, when the airplanes were flying into the World Trade Center. And we could see it was going down, and it was staying down for a few years, but then it was up again. And we are proceeding, and then we had the financial crisis, 2008, which was spreading around the world, and we had a downturn again. And we can see that 2018, that was the last one, but we know that 2020, we have had quite a strong downturn, but we could expect that it's going up again. If it is not that this time, it is a bit more long-term. The other crises have been quite focused and coming up relatively quickly, but we will see what is happening with this, the COVID, if it is keeping new habits instead here. We can see here some data on air travels. During the year 2018, we had 4 billion passengers, and of those, 12 to 20% were either business class or business travels. What is interesting is that 75% of the profit is from the business class travels, the 12%. If we are going down and can find new tools, of course, it will have a strong impact on the business travels. Then we can see the direct emissions from fuel CO2 is roughly 90 grams per CO2 per passenger and kilometer, if we take the average. If we're including also other type of effects, the water and this smog, fog and things like that, then we could say roughly 170 grams CO2 equivalents per person kilometer. This corresponds to roughly 2.6% of all energy-related CO2 emissions. If we're including also the other effects, 4 to 5%. We can see that a travel from Stockholm to Sydney that I've been doing quite a few times. We had a big project in Tumut in Australia here. And then I was traveling for like 6 times within 18 months, and each travel roughly 11 megawatt hours, which we can compare to, this is roughly the same amount of energy that we're using for heating a house in Sweden for a whole year. If we could reduce these trips and the business travels, we could principally, if we could halfen it to take down half of the business travels, we would reduce by roughly 110 million tons of CO2, which is principally twice as much as the whole CO2 emissions for the whole country of Sweden. It's just showing that it's quite a big effect. If we have lower percentage, of course it's lower if we are including not only business travels, the 12%, but also other type of travels, which will probably follow. Then we can see really huge impacts. What could we do then? And why should we try to include these new type of tools that we're talking about, AR and mixed reality and AI and things like that? There was a study made a few years ago where the conclusion was that they were asking business people, and the physical meeting is giving you 32 times more efficient with respect to winning orders. And what we have there is a lot of body language, words, intonation, interactions, things like that. So the question is, could we make some kind of avatar like a hologram or some kind of other type of tools. I'll show a picture in the next page here. And in this way, get a much more close relation. And in that way, perhaps we could replace, instead of having email and Facebook as the alternative, we could have this instead, and then reduce the number of travels needed. We could use it for troubleshooting in services and for training in different ways. This is just a picture. If you're having a person, here's myself here, and if you take a camera for the head and then could project this, a stereo camera, a picture, onto some kind of a, not a flat screen, but some kind of a screen that is similar to a ball that you can shape the face things and then put this onto the background. This is just an idea how it could be done, that you have some kind of a servo motors that are taking, you have a ball where you can change the dimensions of this ball. And by training this to someone who is speaking, you could principally get the movements also from, so you're not only having the picture as such, but you also can see a movement that is three-dimensional. Or if we could use holograms directly and put the holograms onto this, because if you have normal hologram, it's a bit, you're seeing through, it's not compact. But if you have something like this, like a spherical screen, you could get a much better effect, I think. So the idea in this case would be to have some kind of a face screen and then image pattern analysis, and using those with AI to train, to get the language, the intonation, all those type of things, but also the body language included in some way into this, so that you get a deeper impression of having presence. So spoken language, train in some way so that you can have a slight time difference between when you speak and then you're printing this and showing this. So, and pattern recognition, series of movements that you can build up and use for these AI tools, and then create this body language. I have tested it a bit with pet animal using servo motors. We haven't really been doing it for persons, but that I would very much like to try to see if that could be possible also. So that was a bit my input as a first to this discussion that we will have. So with that, I just pass on to Xuan Song, if you could make your presentation.
Okay. I will start my presentation.